Hello, I'm Simon from CareCo, and I'm going to show you how to assemble the Toronto Heat and Massage Swivel Recliner. As you can see, I've taken all the components out from the packaging and I've placed those to one side. In front of me, I have the stool for the Toronto and then the main body of the chair on my right hand side. The Toronto footstool comprises of three components: its base, a U-frame bracket and the foot pad. There's also the fixing kit which is used to assemble the components. I've placed the foot pad from the footstool upside down so that I can access the holes. There's 4 of these which attach to the U-frame bracket. It's important that the wider part of the footstool is towards myself so that when I fit the U-frame bracket, which is sloping away from me, it fits in the correct orientation as so. To secure the U-frame bracket to the seat pad, I'm going to use 4 Allen bolts. Please ensure you check the instructions to select the correct bolts. Once placed into position, I'm just going to hand tighten them. Once hand tightened, we can then secure them using the provided Allen key. We can now connect the foot base to the U-bracket. We need to ensure that the feet are pointing upwards, because when we turn the footstool upside down, that will be sitting on the floor. So with the feet pointing upwards, we place it over the bracket and then ensure we take the bolts using a washer that go through the hole and tighten into position. Once all 4 have been placed in position and hand tightened, take the Allen key and tighten those up. With all the bolts secured, we can now rotate the footstool, and with the footstool complete, we can move on to the main chair. To build the Toronto chair, we need to start by building up the base. That comprises of the components that you can see in front of me. As you can see, I've lifted up the wooden base as so. I've then placed one of the bolts through the metal plate. Then, placing this from the bottom and through one of the holes, I can then attach the other plate on top. With this in position, it helps in placing the last component. As you can see, I can now align the bolt with one of the holes on this component and then tighten it by hand. Leaving this loose, I can now fit the other bolts into the base. With all the bolts located, we can then just tighten them up using the Allen key. With that secured, we can now move on to the next part. We're now going to attach the reclining mechanism into the U-frame bracket that supports the chair. It's important that the cutout at the base is placed towards myself and that this part is chamfered downwards. The bracket then will come inside the U-frame bracket and be secured with the 6 fastenings. With the fastenings or the bolts in place, then take the Allen key and tighten those up. We'll repeat this on the other side. Now that we've built up the base and the bracket, we can place those 2 parts together. Simply lift, place over the shaft, and it will come through the metal bracket here. Once in position, just apply a little bit of pressure and this will locate and fit into position. Once the chair is built, this part will move down and become an interference fit. To complete the framework, we need to install the armrest brackets. These need to be fitted in the correct orientation and are handed for both left and the right hand side. To ensure the correct fitment, I'm going to angle the framework, so this is the front of the chair and this is the rear. We first of all have a little bracket which is a support bracket, and then the brackets for the armrests need to be oriented so that this part is pointing downwards and goes towards the back of the chair. You also need to ensure that the chamfered holes where the bolts go through are located inwards, and once fitted to the framework, this part of the metal section protrudes over the wooden frame. It doesn't sit inboard. Once in position, take the bolts, place them in and just hand tighten. With the Toronto framework now complete, we can attach the seat pad onto the frame. This attaches onto this bracket here, utilising a bracket underneath the seat pad at the front. There's also 2 more brackets at the back, which we will attach in a moment to the seat back. But for now, we'll lift the pad up, place it into position and align this bracket onto here. Once in position, we can take our retaining bolt and place that through the bracket. We can then hand tighten the nut onto the other end of the bolt. Using the Allen key and a spanner, we'll now tighten this bolt up. With the arm brackets fitted, we can fit the armrests themselves. We need to ensure that this part here goes on the inside between the seat pad and the U-frame bracket. There's also a cutout here, and that goes towards the back. So I'm going to place that inside and on top of the bracket, and then secure with the 2 Allen bolts underneath. To install the backrest onto the chair, we're going to place it face down onto the arms. We're then going to take 2 bolts, one either side, and these are going to be placed through the holes in the armrest bracket and into the threaded section on the back of the seat pad. So once aligned, I can now take my bolt, place it through the armrest bracket, and then just hand tighten it into position. With the other bolt, I'll repeat on the other side. We can now tighten these using the Allen key. At the base of the backrest, we're going to connect it to the seat pad by using a bolt and a nut. There is a bracket on the seat base which goes into a bracket on the seat backrest. With the chair now complete, we can just check that it reclines and then comes back up to a seated position. And if you want to lock it into position, you can just use the adjustment handle on the side. Finally, we need to install the electrics. So that comprises of the handset, a connection at the back, and the transformer for the power socket. For the electrics, we need to connect the 2 white cables together, connect the handset onto this larger black cable, and then the smaller cable is where we connect the power and the transformer. With the Toronto chair now fully assembled and its footstool and all the electrics connected, it's time for you to sit in your Toronto and enjoy and relax.